Hello there. Welcome to the Maker Manager Money podcast, a podcast about entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, founders, business owners, and business partnerships, from startups to stay-ups, to inspire entrepreneurs to keep going and future entrepreneurs to just start. It's really a celebration of makers and managers out there making money. My name is Kyle Knowles, and I'm just trying to make some cool content at Kiln. It's a lovely Wednesday night in Salt Lake City at the Kiln at Gateway Mall. Kiln is turning out to be my second place. For some, it's church or pubs or gyms. But for me, it's Kiln. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Kiln is the lifetime fitness of virtual co-working and actual office space. Today's guest is Kurt Black, an entrepreneur and 5 times business founder. He is the president of Charcoal, a lead management software that helps companies buy the best leads and then convert them. He is also a partner at 8th Grade English, which is an advertising and design agency. Kurt earned a track scholarship to Weber State University, becoming a 3-time All-American in the steeplechase and 5,000 meters, and was inducted into the Weber State Hall of Fame. Kurt graduated with a bachelor's degree in business with an emphasis in finance. He started out running professionally before landing an account manager role at a marketing agency and becoming an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Kurt.
Thank you, Kyle. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here. What do you think about Kiln? This is your first time
fantastic.
At Kiln.
Yeah, first time I've been in the building, and man, beautiful place. I'm thinking I need to move my office.
All right. I'm sure they've got some openings here maybe. So I just want to start out with 3 questions. I just started asking these recently of myself mostly. But maybe you can just explain, who are you? Why are you here? And what do you want? And these could be philosophical. These could be just straight down to business. But these are the 3 big questions.
Those are bigger than big questions. Those are the essence. So the first one, why am I here? Was it the...
Oh, yeah. Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
Man, that is a fantastic question. Because you distill it down to, from a religious sense or church sense or a business sense. So I try to be an all-around person. So specialized, learn enough of the main things, but also specialize enough that I can be an expert in various elements of business. But first and foremost, I'd say I'm a dad.
Okay.
Dad and husband.
Nice.
So,
yeah. So we run into each other on an elevator and you introduce yourself. What do you say?
I say, Kurt Black, I'm happy to be here. No, if it's someone in a business sense, I'll say that, I'm president of Charcoal, here's what we do. But if you're looking to say, who am I at the end of the day? What motivates me? What gets me up in the morning? It's very much, I'm very goal driven. What do I want to accomplish? I lay those things out, and that's my motivation.
Okay. And then, so as far as your purpose, why you're here, maybe doing this podcast, or why you're in business?
Right. A lot of people, it's money, driven by money, fame, whatever. Mine is, how do I feel at the end of the day? Did I feel like I accomplished what I set out to accomplish? That's sort of my motivation. A lot of people get wrapped up in, how do I compare against competition? I love competition, but it's not, as soon as you start comparing yourself to others in the sense of, does that motivate you and drive you? Or is it I'm not measuring up and defeatist? It can go 2 ways, and especially like the kids that I work with. So I also help coach late and high cross country and track. And, I'm like, utilize competition, utilize that as motivation, but don't let it discourage you. If you're looking at people to see how you compare, you're going to get discouraged. But if it's that, hey, see what they're doing, I can do that, then it's a whole different piece.
Yeah, to inspire you, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Use the competition to inspire you.
Exactly.
Like yeah. Okay, and then what do you want then out of life and being in business for yourself?
You know, most of the reason that I was thinking about this a lot over the weekend was just, you know, why do it? And I'm like, God, I'm unemployable. And, you know, but not so much that I've worked in the corporate realm, but I was so, I like having, you know, you never have control. No matter what you do, you're never in control of anything really. But I love the feeling of having that I think I'm in control, you know, because tomorrow a client could call up and be like, hey, we're done. You know, you can be doing phenomenal work for them, but you don't have that control. But at the same time, you feel like you do have control. Whereas when I worked in the corporate environment, I always felt like I was beholden. I couldn't call the shots to you know, advance my career, advance things as fast as I wanted it to go. So that was a lot of my motivation to be an entrepreneur. And I think it's just, you know, right out of college is when I started my first business. And it was just that, yeah, I know I want to do something that's in my power, if you will.
Okay, let's talk about that first business that you started then.
So the first business that I started is actually still running now. A friend and I, Guy Perry and I, right after we got out of school, there was a running shoe store in Salt Lake that was going out of business. The current owner, they were moving to Texas, so they were trying to sell it. We wanted to buy it. Thought this is going to be the greatest thing ever because we were both into running. We were both into, you know, shoes, everything like that. Thought this is it. So we started trying to get financing to buy the business. By the time we got everything done, he kept calling me weekly. Have you got your financing yet? I was like, banks, you know, we're waiting to hear back from the SBA. Nothing set yet. So he said, we're shutting down in 4 days, you know, and at that point, they'd been liquidating so long that the only inventory they had left was just basically what they couldn't sell. So we looked at it as, okay, you know, maybe this wasn't supposed to happen. So that was on a Friday. They shut down. On Monday, the bank called and said, your loan's has gone through. Come in and sign the papers. I'm like, we're signing for nothing now. But I made a few quick calls. We were able to get the space. We were able to register the same name. So we ran out there, put a sign up, said reopening in 3 weeks. And we got inventory in, made all the changes that we wanted to do in interior, and opened back up, sort of didn't miss a beat. And it worked out great. Did that for 2 years. At the same time I was doing that, I was working at Dahl & Smith White as an account manager. So between the two jobs, pretty much working 7 days a week, averaging about 90 hours a week, finally was like, I got to do one or the other. I don't have enough energy anymore to pull both off. So I told my business partner, said, you can buy me out, I'll buy you out, whichever one I'm good with. So he decided to buy me out. So we were Sporting Souls at the time. He rebranded to Salt Lake Running Company, and it's done phenomenal. The business is going great for him, and it's fantastic. I cheer his success.
That's awesome. Yeah. So your life would have been quite different if you would have bought him out then.
Yeah. I think it would have been very different. Another friend of mine owned a Charlotte Running Company in North Carolina, and so I'd talk to him a lot. And he's up to 8 stores now, and a lot. So yeah, I think it would have been really different. And it would have been great that way. But things have been great this way as well.
Well, you've been able to stay in running, and you're coaching and still doing all those kinds of things. So you didn't really need to own a running store to do that.
No. And that's, it would have been a lot of fun, but at the same time, I've been able to keep running with different things, like you mentioned, coaching, helping out with different. And then one of my next businesses I started was a race timing company. So then we'd be at races every weekend, timing them, and we did the RFID chips and all that. So we're sort of at the beginning of that phase in Utah. Picked up, we had all the St. George races, a lot of along the Wasatch Front, It was a blast, but that was another one as well. At a certain point, like, that's a lot of work.
Anytime you're dealing with events,
Exactly.
there's so much work. There's so much work to do.
People have no idea how much goes into behind the scenes.
I want to talk about running just a little bit more because it's been such a huge part of your life. And can you just set the stage for like when you started running, and have you stopped competitively, or like what's your status now? So take me cradle to grave. Well, don't take me to grave yet, but take me cradle to the current time running.
All right. So this could be a really long story. I'll try to keep it somewhat brief. But so I started running. So I used to, I grew up in Blanding, Utah, which is southeast corner of the state. My grandpa had a large farm. We used to go down there and chase rabbits around the field and everything. So I'd say that's how I started running. And then in junior high, my brother took me to a road race, and I just loved it. Thought that was the greatest thing ever. And so hit all the road races. We lived up in Cache Valley at that point. And then joined the cross-country team. But I think where things really took off is we moved to Oregon at the beginning of my sophomore year of high school. And I had a coach up there. So at the same time I fancied myself as a wrestler, which, dripping wet. I was 100 pounds and just, they were trying to get me to 98. And no matter what I did, the lowest I could get was 99 and a half. So I was in a wrestling match and I got put in a hold, and I don't know if he pulled a tendon in my arm or whatever, but I couldn't move my arm for about a week. So while I was waiting to get back to wrestling, I went and talked to the track coach and said, "Hey, can I run with you during the winter while I'm rehabbing here, and then I'll come out and run track in the spring." He's like, "Sure." And so I started running with him. I was like, I enjoy this a lot more than the other. Well, he not only was a good coach, but he made you become a fan of the sport. And that was really my first introduction to track and to road racing and really everything.
How did he make you a fan?
He took us so Eugene, Oregon is the hotbed of track and field. He took us to the NCAA championships to watch those. And oddly enough, the guy that recruited me to Weber won the steeplechase the day before we went to watch. And I saw it, I'd opened the paper, saw his name. I was like, God, Farley Gerber from Weber State. What the heck? And then Ed Eyestone had won, the current coach of BYU. He'd won the 10,000 meters the day before as well. So we got to go watch that. It was just electric in there. And then he took us to the Prefontaine Classic, which is sort of a professional meet that happens in the summer down there. And between those two, I was hooked. I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Well, after that, at the end of that summer is when we moved to Kaysville. And so I started my junior year at Davis High, and then did okay. I was 33rd in state as a junior. Everybody's like, 33rd, where'd you come from? Well, then I went on a good little growth spurt, trained quite a bit harder, ended up winning state in cross country, and then in the 3200. And then the coach from Weber came and had been recruiting me a little bit, but he came and said, "You come here, I'll make you an All-American." And that was sort of the done. Let's do it. So everything from that point on, and a lot of what I've learned for business was through that coach. He just had a lot of different things that his big saying was plan your race and race your plan. And that applies to life. It's really plan out what you're going to do and then execute that. And that's what we did. Everything was, I knew exactly what was going to happen in every race before I went in. And then I would just have to execute against that. So he had a lot of great teachings. I mean, not just being a great coach, he was a great teacher at the same time. So finished up at Weber, finished third at the NCAA championships, lost by 18 hundredths of a second is the closest finish they've had in the steeplechase. I think in history, the top four were just within 0.25 seconds of each other. Went to USA Nationals, was placed fourth in the nation there, ranked fourth in the U.S. that year, and then went and raced in Europe, Japan, a few others, and then ended up getting injured and just never got back. So now I run. I'm a recreational jogger, if you will. Now it's more, okay, how much weight do I need to lose? All right, that's I'm out there. But I ended up doing it's been 10 years ago now. Some friends and I were like, hey, let's do an Ironman. I'm like, all right, I've never done a triathlon, but let's give it a shot. So we all jumped on to register. I was the only one that got in. So I'm like, I got to do this by myself. And so ended up training for a year, went down to Tempe, Arizona. As they're signing in, they're like, what Ironman is this for you? I said, it's my first. They're like, I said, it's actually my first triathlon ever. And they're like, are you insane? It's like, hey, go big or go home. I'm gonna get this over with right at the beginning. And so, toughest thing I've ever done, but just an amazing experience too. So
the full triathlon, you did the full thing.
2.4 swim, 112 bike, marathon at the end.
Oh my word!
It's like, and you question your existence multiple times, but yeah, there's nothing like it when you finish that race.
I bet.
So it was quite the experience. So, had a hard time walking for about a month after. Well, it wasn't the soreness. It just drains every last bit out of you. Just for a month after, just like, I got nothing. I'm here.
And you did this 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's 2012. Yeah. End of 2012. So.
And so have you done any competitive thing like that since then?
I've done 2 half Ironmans since then, but now I need to pick another one and go. That's half the battle, is just saying, okay, I'm doing that one, and then you're motivated.
You're committed. You get in with the lottery, or you sign up.
Exactly.
And now you're committed.
Yeah, because if you're just like, I think at some point I'll do a race.
Yeah,
it's pretty easy to. Bed's warm in the morning during the winter, It's hard to get out.
I see a lot of people, it's exciting to sign up for one of those, and you get all that energy, and then you're like, now the work begins.
Now it starts.
And so you sign up, it's exciting, and then when you finish, it's exciting. But everything in between that no one sees, because you can talk to a lot of people. I signed up for a marathon. Oh, yeah, you get a lot of shine from that.
Right.
Or that you finished one, right? But all that work that goes into it. And how did you train for your first?
So what's
triathlon?
Weird is everything I did in the race, other than the marathon, because I'd run marathons, a few marathons before, but every other thing I did, that was the farthest I'd ever gone in that. So my longest swim was 2 miles. We swim 2.4. My longest bike ride was 100 miles. I'd done 200-mile rides. And I'm like, God, I should have done more, but it's just time constraints. Yeah. You feel like you just leave your family for a year as you're getting ready for that. And so did what I could and worked. I was able to finish still, but
did you already know how to swim?
No.
Well,
no,
did you have to take some classes to?
No, I should have. That would have been
better?
smart, but I like to do things the hard way. Okay. So now I had a friend of mine that had done some Ironman. They're like, can I go to the pool with you and just watch you? And then I'll just try to replicate that. And it took me, so I started swimming in November. I went up to Pine View in June, and that was the first time I swam over a mile with my face doing the constant face in the water, breathing side. Mm-hmm. Up until then, I'd never swam with my face in the water. I always had the head out, paddling, and I was like, man, 7 months. But then as soon as it clicked, I was good to go from that point on. But boy, it took a long time for that to click and get that breathing rhythm down. But yeah, that was I was probably the most worried about that portion of it, just because I was like, I know I'm weak here, but it ended up being, for me, the best one of the three.
And sorry if I missed this. Where was the triathlon?
Oh, it was in Tempe, Arizona.
Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you swim in fresh water?
Yeah. So you swim. Okay. Have you been to the Tempe Town Lake?
No.
There. So they have it's downtown Tempe, and it's more of a river. It's like a standing river, if you will. And the whole reason I picked that is I hate cold water, and so I thought, okay, Tempe, Arizona, it's going to be nice and warm. Oh man, they let us come down and do a practice swim the day before. I put my feet in. I was like, that was a year of wasted training. There's no way I'm getting in that water tomorrow.
But you had to.
But then the next day I was just like, okay, just jump in and just see how long before you get hypothermia. And then once you got going, you finally kind of warmed up a little bit. And then that first 600 meters of the swim, you just get beat to death, and you sort of forget about the cold
because people.
Yeah,
you're getting
you got 1,000 people starting at the same time, and you're just trying to find a lane, some avenue to not get beat to death. I got my goggles kicked off. I got, just your feet are getting chopped. It's just a madhouse. But it was really, really amazing though. Once it thins out a little bit, then you're like, okay, now I can get into a stroke rhythm and go.
And how long was the swim portion for you?
So for me, it was an hour 20 that I was in the water, and then let's say, God, I'm trying to remember. I was 14 hours total for the bike, swim, and run. And the run, I thought I'd do a lot better, but my nutrition, the first 3 miles were fantastic. I was like, man, I'm going to sail through this thing. And then, boy, just my nutrition caught up to me, and I paid dearly.
And what was your lack of nutrition then? Just during training, or you didn't eat anything?
No, I was eating, but my biggest mistake was when I would bike doing those 100-milers, I was like, I knew Ensure had a ton of calories in a small thing. So I'm like, perfect. I'll take Ensures while I'm on the bike. Well, I never did do a bike to run transition. I just finished my 100-mile ride and then be like, okay, workout's in for the day. And there's something about that lactose based that just will mess your stomach up like nothing else once you start running. And oh man, it was just one of those, like, I feel like I'm just going to explode, just brutal. But then they had Coke, like at mile 10. They had it earlier, but about the mile 10 aid station, I was like, I got to take something. So I drank Coke, and it just calmed everything. I was like, all right, I'm back.
Nice.
Like, I'll finish. But yeah, mistakes you learn from.
Yeah,
I would say for the next time, but yeah, I doubt there's going to be a next time.
You're not going to do a full one.
I don't know if I do another full one. Yeah. It takes a lot of time. Yeah, like you've mentioned, just that time between registration and finish is just a lot of work. So the half Ironmans are great because they're a challenge, but
doable.
It doesn't. Yeah, they're doable. So
I used to feel the same way about a half marathon. It was like the perfect run.
Yeah, and they really are.
Because you still feel okay the next day, and it doesn't completely deplete you. But a marathon. It's been a long time since I've done one, but I've done 3.
Oh, have you?
And I just remember doing the St. George Marathon, and after finishing, we were driving to go get something to eat, and we'd pass some cows, and I literally, in my head, thought that I could just go tackle a cow and just literally start eating it, just
exactly.
raw. Because whatever you're depleted of, you're dying basically, and your body's saying, give me that protein or something, because I can only imagine on a full triathlon, 10 times, it would be 10 times as bad.
Mine was just at mile 24 of St. George. I'm like, if I saw somebody with a Mountain Dew, I would have killed them and taken it. I was like, that's all I want. I just need that sugar rush.
Wow. Well, so what are some of the, I don't know, like, so I'm thinking about these companies you've started and trying to relate all your history of running and competition, and are there certain things that you say that your coach used to say to employees, for example? Do you say things to employees that your coach used to say, or are there lessons, or when you think about something, how is there any of that running experience that comes into your businesses?
A little bit on that part. A lot of that's more internal, but I follow a lot of what he said. But one of the things that he would always stress that I just would always crack me up, he'd always say, dance with the girl that brung you. And I was like, there's something about that is seems like in business now, everybody's looking for the pivot. What are we going to, and it's like, if you've got a solid plan, stick with that plan, because there's always going to be shiny objects every which way. Mm-hmm. But if you can dial in and do that thing really well, that's where success is. That in my experience, sometimes you do need where it's just like, hey, our business is obsolete. We've got to figure out, what's next. But I think a lot of people get so caught up in, they're doing that, we better do that, or something along those lines, that they lose sight of, what are we really trying to do here?
Okay, dance with the girl that brung you.
Yeah, he was an old farm boy, so
I like that. So the stick-to-itiveness, the focus, and staying on track. Yeah, I like that. So are you more of a maker or a manager?
We talked about that a little bit, and I think I'm sort of in between. I'm not afraid to steal somebody's good idea, in the sense of if something's out there and I think I can do something with that, I'm good with that. But I also realize I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. I mean, and everyone I work with will tell you the same thing, that I'm not the smartest person in the room. So hiring people and being able to motivate them and just provide a clear direction. I look at a lot of what I do now in that vein. It's like, okay, where are we going as a company? Now I need the people to be able to do what we're doing. And luckily, the last couple of businesses, I've got unbelievable people around me, and it's more their success than anything that I'm doing. I'll give them credit all day, every day.
So the management part, the manager part, that's the role you're really in mostly, but you also have some of that maker as far as like coming up with business ideas and kind of, I don't know, just out there making things happen. And
I love looking at, like, is there a business where, it just hasn't been executed well? Great idea, but just they haven't executed on what could be. I'd love to say, okay, here's what we can do with that, this and that. But I also love the management part to get there as well. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough one, because when you look at it, like, I'm not 100% a maker and I'm not 100% a manager. I'm sort of at 50-50, if you will.
Yeah, that's a dual threat.
Yeah,
it's a dual threat combination. But I've talked to a few entrepreneurs, and it's like some of them that are hardcore makers, and then they've had to transition into management. It's kind of a harder transition than someone that kind of likes that management piece.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think there are people that are good with people, and there are people that just, put them in a room, let them do their thing, and they'll accomplish miracles. But to have to manage other people and do that in is a whole different piece of, whole different skill set a lot of times.
Right. So what is your superpower then?
My superpower, I would say, hopefully, I try to think, what would other people say is my superpower? Because for me to say, I'm really good at this, that just doesn't come naturally. So, but I hope other people would look at me and say, he's good at, talking with people, not convincing, but yeah, I hate to use the word selling, because it's like, I look at it more as, can I explain what we do in a way that they understand and it motivates them to use what we do? If we can do that, then we're good. And I hope there was an old CTO I worked with, the CTO of DSW. He was just amazing. I mean, just brilliant in what he was doing. You know, technology at the time, he could figure anything out. It was Richard Schroeder, you may know him, or have known him. He passed away. But I always looked at him as like, man, half of his success it wasn't that he was really smart. It was that he could describe everything he did in layman's terms to where anyone could understand exactly what he was doing and how it affected the business and everything. And I was like, that's an amazing trait to have. And if you can do that, that's half the battle, because a lot of times people are like, I don't know what anytime I say, I do lead management, people are like, what's a lead? And so if I can walk them through okay, here's what we do, here's how we do it, here's what it's going to do for you. If I can do that successfully, then we usually will get the business.
Nice. So was your mom or dad an entrepreneur? Does it run in your family at all?
Yeah. So my dad was, interestingly enough, he was a concert pianist as growing up and college and that. And so he had his own piano tuning business and just ran that and then also did insurance as well on the side. And, and I was just like, I want that ability to be, to be able to call my own shots and things like that. And so he was always that, sort of the model of why I think I was attracted to entrepreneurship, was just that's what I want. I have no musical ability like he did but he worked at it, it didn't come easily. He worked at it extremely hard. But that business that he was able to do afterwards and made a career I was like, okay, if I can figure out something that I can do well, and I can have my own show.
So do you feel like you were inspired by that, or at least had some confidence based on seeing your dad make it working for himself? Yeah,
I think that, and I think a lot of that is, if he would have worked a corporate job, it may have been like, would look at that and be like, hey, that's the route to go. It's a, great thing. But I think, seeing him be able to have a business and, and you see the ups and downs, so you have a little bit of that. It's not all, it's just like signing up for the race in the end. There's a lot of up and down that people don't see until you hit the end. And knowing that, I think that expectation was set then, and so when things go down, it's not it's all over now, and pack the bags. It was roll with the punches, be able to stomach the ups and downs. And, I've had one friend that's like, entrepreneurship is the highest highs and the lowest lows. And I'm like, that sums it up right there.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So talk to me about lead management then, because there's kind of a history of a couple of different companies, if I'm understanding your kind of entrepreneurial journey. So go back to when this began, this kind of lead management idea and businesses that you've been involved with. Kind of just talk about your career path with lead management.
Perfect. So I got into the lead management side of things somewhat with Datamark. So they used to do lead management for-profit schools, so Corinthian colleges, rest in peace. A lot of Ashford College. They had almost all the big for-profit colleges at the time, and those schools managed leads and marketing spend better than I think still have ever seen it out there. They just had it dialed in completely. Well, I worked more on the pay-per-click side of things. I managed a pay-per-click team, email marketing team, more on that end, but saw what was happening on the lead management side and an affiliate team. And then they moved me into a role where I was just supposed to figure out, okay, what businesses should we get into now? Like, what are some new technology trends that we should adopt, bring in? And so I was presenting 4 new business ideas a month to the board to say, here's what's out there. Is this something that we can make money at, or is it just a passing fad? Or, so that was my whole job for a time, and loved it. Then I had the opportunity to move to Thomas Arts. They wanted to take what was being done with for-profit education into the insurance space. So some friends and I went up to start working with them, built the lead management system, and it was like, man, this is really new to insurance. They're just starting to understand what can be done. And they started running into some financial difficulties at the time. And so we made the proposal, how about we jump out, lease the software, and we'll pay it off as quickly as we can get clients and everything. And, to Dave Thomas's credit, he agreed to it, gave us the go ahead. And so we went out, and shortly after that, American Family put their account up. And so we went out, and it was funny because talking to our client afterwards, he said, I got to tell you guys, what was going on behind the scenes. And I'm like, this is the part I love, what was happening behind the scenes, so we'll know for the next time. He said, what happened was when we went in, he said, so we did the written proposal. He said, you were top 3. That's why you got to come in and do the proposal, do the verbal or presentation. He said, you were a distant second. He said, we knew we were going with Axiom, which was $1 billion company. We were, startup mode, basically. Yeah. And he said, when you guys walked out the door, we all knew that we had to go with you because you're bringing a different way to do this that we knew we needed to have. And I was like, that is fascinating. And he said, just your whole approach, we utilized a lot of what we'd done with the for-profit education and just applied it to the insurance field and said, okay, here's what we can do as far as our scrubbing goes, all of that. So we got that account launched. It was funny because after we launched, they said, you're the first vendor we've had that actually launched when you said you were going to launch. I was like, I didn't know we had an option, but it goes back to that execute, plan it, execute. And so we pulled it off, and within a month we had doubled their conversion rate. They were just ecstatic, and I had a great relationship with them. Then that company was called LeadAmp, is what we jumped out to. I put in a proposal to present at a big conference in New York, and they asked me to present at that conference. So I presented, here's what a lead management system should do. Here's what your corporate program should look like. And I got done and was walking back, and this lady came back up and she said, hey, I need to talk to you further. Are you and your business partner available for breakfast? I said, yeah, that'd be great. Didn't know who she was. Like 10 people come for breakfast, and it was my business partner and I as well. And she said, we're from State Farm. I'm like, wow, holy smokes, it's the big one. That's they're the 800-pound gorilla in the space. And so she said, we need you to come out, walk us through what we can do. Anyway, make a long story short, we got right to the end, and they said, you're too small. We only work with companies that are big. And I was that, you got to be kidding me. She goes, we need what you guys do, but we just don't do business with companies your size. I'm like, what have we sold? She said, almost a for sure then. And so we'd been talking with ClearLink a little bit, but we weren't set, but we went back and said, if you buy us, you're almost guaranteed to 5x your money the second we close. And so they took a risk because it wasn't a done deal, but sure enough, as soon as we signed the contract, we got this signed contract from State Farm. They 5x their money. It was like, oh, what could have been? But it worked out good. I can't complain.
And so you stayed on with?
So then I stayed on with ClearLink for about 3 years, and then we, my CTO and I, and my VP of media, so she's the one that works with all the vendors. We all left at the same time, and then at that point, I thought, I'm out of the lead business. Done it for too long. Let's go back to the advertising world. And that's where I bought in as a partner with 8th grade English. And I'd been gone about 11 months, and they called and said, this has been a disaster since you guys left.
Who called?
American Family called back, and they said, would you want to get back in? And so I said, hadn't even thought about it. Let me call my CTO, see what he thinks. He's like, yeah, all those things we were talking about that we wanted to do, let's do it. And I'll rewrite the software, add in all the things that we wanted in there. I said, all right, let's go. So I brought him on, and he wrote it all. And a short time after, we went out to American Family and said, okay, is there anything that we didn't have that you would have liked to have had? They had a couple suggestions, so we wrote that into the initial program as well, or initial software. And then about 6 months later, they moved it all over to us. And so I've had them now for almost 2 years. So it's been a good program.
So ClearLink signed with State Farm, but then later they signed with American Family.
So we brought American Family to them. Oh, so they were,
okay.
So when the buyer,
so American Family was already with you.
Yeah.
You did the talk in New York, you talked to State Farm, and then State Farm said, we'd go with you, but you're too small.
Yeah.
You sold to ClearLink, and then
we got State Farm as a client.
So they were one of your original customers.
Yeah.
And then they followed you.
Yeah. So American Family.
From lead amp to ClearLink to charcoal.
Back to charcoal. Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So they're a good group of people. They're sort of a dream client, if you will. They're just, they respect what we do. They're one of those that you have meetings and it's a true collaboration. Like, hey, what's working? What's not? What can we do better? What, where are we, and they'll listen to us as far as, hey, that's a great idea. Let's implement that. We've brought them several different things that said, hey, you don't have to do this. We're just bringing you, we're not going to make any additional money, but we think it'll be a good thing for your program. Like, let's do it, and it's been a really good, they're a really good symbiotic relationship.
A true partnership.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, charcoal then, so explain again how you're splitting your time, because you're kind of like Jack Dorsey with Twitter, right?
Exactly.
Like you're kind of going back and forth between, or Elon Musk, with Twitter and
SpaceX.
And you've got a couple of different companies going on. And how do you manage your day or your week?
So most of the time is, I should say, I'd say at least 80% of the day is more charcoal focused. And then the 20%, I'd work with several different clients. So I'd mentioned EDC Utah. I work with them. We're working on a new project with a group in Minneapolis. So I'll do a little bit there, and then it's more of an account manager role. I need to do more on the new business end, but we'll probably have to hire somebody that can just go out and do the new business front of it. But most of the other stuff is run by one of my other partners, and then Doug Dearden is the designer behind the scenes, making everything look awesome.
Okay. And what kind of services do you offer with 8th grade English?
So we do most everything. So where we're really strong is in the design aspect of it. And we look at it as, all of our clients have been with us for 10 plus years. And it's because what we do, I think a lot of agencies, and what I saw, with the agencies as I was developing in my career, it wasn't always first about the client. It was first about, is this going to make us look good? If the client looks good as well, great, but not as, it wasn't so much the client first. We've really taken that, we're not out to, we won't even submit our work for award shows. It's just that, no, we don't care. We've all been around. We've won awards. We don't really care. It's like, are we advancing your business? Do you look good to your bosses? That's what we care about. And it's worked. They stick with us. And so it's been a good formula.
And how did someone come up with the name of 8th grade English then?
So oddly enough, we were originally called Gray Matter, and so when I bought into the partnership, we sort of hated that name just because there was what was it? Gray Matter Elite.
I don't know what that is.
It was another agency.
Okay.
And I'm like, so we can't be Gray Matter because there's one better than us. There's Gray Matter Elite.
You could have changed it to Gray Matter the bestest.
Exactly. It was going down that road. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, we got to do something different. And so we just brainstormed a ton of names. And oddly enough, my partner's son was like, how about 8th grade English? I'm like, I don't think there's any other company out there with that. And then my son came up with the idea for the logo with the girl with her head on the desk, because that's what everybody thinks of 8th grade English. So, and it just, we thought it was funny as well. So like, let's do this. And we went with that name and identity, and it's been fun.
That's awesome. Your copy isn't all written in 8th grade.
Exactly.
English, is it?
No.
It might be. We
try to step it up to
English.
Yeah. Could be 4th grade humor. It could be senior. We don't know.
Aren't newspapers written in 6th grade English or something like that?
It might be.
It's something like that. Oh, that's great. So you mentioned your dad was a pianist, but you're not a musician then?
Sadly, I'm trying to learn the banjo. That's going to be my thing. But
and was Steve Martin the inspiration for that, or what was the inspiration?
I don't know what was the inspiration. But then when I saw Steve Martin play, I was just like, oh my gosh, he's amazing.
He's legit.
He's totally legit. I didn't know he was that good until I saw a special with he and Martin Short had done a special just recently.
Right.
And I was just watching that thing and, holy mackerel, I had no idea he was that good. Yeah. I mean, he's just amazing. But yeah, there's always been something humorous to me about the banjo, but I also love the sound of it. Yeah. So I'm just like, I gotta figure this out at some point.
It's a guitar with a snare drum.
Exactly.
So,
and I got into the Mumford & Sons sound. I was like, okay, I need to figure that out.
So do you practice every night, or what?
I need to get in a routine.
Okay.
I'll do really good for a week, and then it's like something will come up, and I get thrown off completely. And it's like, okay, I've got to just make it a habit. You hear that, do anything for 30 days and it becomes a habit. Yeah. I've got to get to the 30 days.
So what's the number one song you want to play on the banjo?
Any of the Mumford & Sons. Like, okay, if I can learn that Little Lion Man, I'll be like, okay, hit it.
Nice. Okay. What's something that most people don't know about you?
Golly. You know what's interesting, and you'd probably be like, oh yeah, I knew that. But the high school and before, I was just deathly shy. We'd take those Myers-Briggs tests that would show, are you an extrovert or introvert, and had all the different, are you this or that. I looked at an old one, and I think my line just about touched the full introvert, and that was a thing that I had a teammate that sort of started bringing me out of my shell, and then
in college,
in college, yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then after doing an LDS mission, I think that really brought me out. There's just like, people are okay. I was always in the okay, just don't get hit by anyone. Just stay low, do your thing, and it's like, you know what? I actually like people, and it's still hard for me to go up and be, hey,
Yeah.
I've got a friend that is unbelievable at that. He'll walk up to anybody. Hi, I'm so-and-so. And I'm just like, I want to get to that point, but I'm not there yet. But, I've had to come out of my shell as well, just for business. I don't know if you remember who Tony Hsieh was from, what's the shoe brand or shoe store that Amazon bought?
Zappos.
Zappos. That was, he was the CEO of that. And I read his book, and he talked about how that was so uncomfortable to him, but he's like, if I'm going to be CEO, these are things I have to do. And I'm like, it's like, I get that now, it's like, I need to, if I'm going to be in this role, there are things I've got to do and step out of my comfort zone. And when you do, it's like, this isn't that bad. I can do this.
Yeah. You have to play the part sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. And the more you do that, the more it starts to become natural too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that you said, I do like people or whatever, because I think there is a misconception about introverts that they don't like people, but they actually do. It's just, their battery doesn't get charged being around people.
Oh.
Where extroverts, their battery gets charged being around people. So,
for sure.
Yeah, I'm an introvert too. And so I do like people, and I like talking to people and things like that. Yeah. But if I'm in an all day, for example, sales conference for hours on end around people, I can't wait till that night where I can just be alone in my hotel room and recharge my battery.
Oh, the cocktail mixer is like just pain for me. It's like, and I don't drink, so that's already one, but I'll have my Coke, and it's just, oh, how soon can this end?
Exactly. All right. So, this is kind of a crazy question here, and pardon my French, but who is your bullshit detector? Right? Because every CEO, I think, needs a bullshit detector.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you're the CEO, and everyone looks to you, and you have all the answers, but maybe some of your answers aren't correct.
Yeah. No. Well, at home, my wife plays that role, but in the office, I think I've tried to develop a culture of, hey, if it's wrong, call it, and I'd much rather have disagreement that we talk through of, okay, what's the best route to go? Let's talk about the pros and cons. What's this and that? And then let's make a decision. And usually that way, then you see the end result, everyone buys in. But if it's that we're doing this, jump on board or die, you don't get that as much. And so that's been I always hated that I had a lot of bosses where you couldn't say, hey, you sure? Or you're thinking about this part. And in the office now, it's like, no, if this is a crazy idea, tell me now, because, from my point of view, it looks awesome. But there have been a couple times where like, have you thought of this? Like, thank you. You saved us a lot of pain and it was stuff that I was so like shiny keys, let's go. And it was like, no, there are a lot of things that could really derail this. And it was like, thanks for pointing that out. And then we came up with something that was still motivating to everyone, but way less risk. And I'm like, so I hope I cultivated that enough in the office. And I think we're there where anybody can chime in and say, and there are times when it's like, yeah, I get that risk, but it's a risk that's worth taking. Or that might be that's a lot of risk with not enough payoff for it to succeed.
So the detector is just really the culture itself that allows people to disagree and kind of share their viewpoints with you.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's that, like I said, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. There's a lot smarter people in the office than I am. And so I'd much rather have their input, opinions, and I think they're comfortable sharing those as well.
Nice. That's awesome. So I want to talk about you've transitioned out of corporate and into corporate and then out of corporate a couple of different times. So what did you find? So I know, when you had with Thomas Arts, you left to start a company.
Yeah.
So you were in corporate and then you left and then you went to ClearLink. ClearLink bought you. So talk about, you have your own company and then being bought in those 3 years or whatever you were at ClearLink. Right. And what was that transition like? And what were the things going back into corporate that maybe what was the good about going back into corporate and what was the bad?
The good, I think there's a false sense of security in the
paycheck every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that you don't have to think about that as much in a way. And for good or for bad.
Like less hustling.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. You're just like,
or stress about like,
do my thing as long as the client doesn't leave or whatever.
Yeah.
Job's here, but when you're out in the, entrepreneur world or running a business, it's that, okay, I've got to be thinking 6 months, a year down the road. And I'm not able to just be like, oh, as long as we just keep doing what we're doing, we're good, And so I think there are positives. I think a lot of the corporate world, it was that when I get my business, another business going, what were the things I like? I don't want that in this company. I want it to be an open environment of, and I think you do hit a point, where, some of the companies that I've been a part of, working for someone, it was awesome. And then they'll get bought out and it's that everything changes, and they're like, everything's going to stay the same. And it's just like, I've been through that enough that it's like, nothing stays the same. It's no matter what, things are going to change, and when you're an entrepreneur or have your own business, you get to call those shots a lot more and can control that aspect a lot better.
So the more the culture that you control?
I think it's a lot more the culture and the vibe and
the way things get decided and how fast you can make decisions. Is that
right? So one of the things that and I don't want to hammer or talk bad about ClearLink, but at the time there was a ClearLink is your family. It's your it's where we come and have
away from home.
Yeah, you come and have fun here and everything. And I'm like, I hate that. I want to spend time with my family.
Yeah.
I'm going to come in, I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to get everything done that needs to be done, but I don't want to hang out here. It's like, so for me, that was a tough going into that environment. I was just like, and a lot of people like that and love it. And I was just like, that's awesome. But where we're at now, everyone knows exactly what, I'm like, we're extremely efficient because we know where everybody is and where they're good and, their weaknesses as well. And we can compensate or help out in all those different things. So it's not it's like get in, do the job, make the client happy, but have a life outside. I don't want you here at 10 p.m., like, hey, let's play another game of ping pong and then we'll get back. It's like, no, I'd rather go home and hang out there.
That makes sense.
So I think that's a lot of it, and for a lot of people, it's like, no. And when I first started at DSW, I was more that, hey, this is an awesome, I'm here 65, 70 hours a week.
These are my friends.
These are my
family.
Yeah. And I was young and single, and it was like, yeah, that was great. But as you get farther down in your career, it's just like, no, I'm going to do my job, do it well, and then I want a life outside.
So if someone came to you and said they wanted to start a business, what's the first piece of advice that you'd give to them?
There was a book I read, it's been years ago. It was called What the CEO Wants You to Know. It was Ram Charan, I believe. And I'm like, read that, understand it, and put it into practice before you're ready to jump out. Because when you're going to start something, you have to think like a CEO. And that's what his whole thing was. Even if you're in the corporate environment, what would the CEO want you to do in your job? And it puts it in a whole different thing, a whole different line, because a lot of times you get so caught up in the minutia, the day to day. It's like, but how's that affecting the bottom line? What's that going to do for profitability later on? Or, things like that. And so if you start with that mindset of like, okay, I'm thinking bigger picture all the time. If you apply that in your corporate job, because everybody has to start out, that it's rare that somebody's just like, I'm going to start a business tomorrow. I'm 21 years old, that's a rarity. Those that do it, awesome. But it's not the norm. And I think as long as you can put that into practice, even though you can't, you may feel like you're able to influence a whole lot in your current role, it's start thinking like in that direction.
Okay. And that's What the CEO Wants You to Know is the name of the book.
Yeah. And it's been out. God, I think I read that in like 2007 or so. Okay. But it was sort of that's the first time I've really been like, oh, I've got to really worry about big picture on everything.
All right. I like that answer. So is there any other book that you recommend the most to people?
God, a lot of, I've read a lot of business books. I used to read a lot of self-confidence books, because I'm like,
self-development.
I'm like, God, I have no confidence. I need to, and at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? You just got to do, you can read every book in the world, but until you put that into practice, you're not going to have confidence. Confidence comes from getting beat a lot.
Yeah.
And then you see, hey, I can come out of that. I can rise above that. But you have to get beat down a few times, and everybody's got failures along the way. If you don't, you're a blessed individual, or, well, you might be a cursed individual. But yeah, that's, but as far as different books, God, I don't know if there's one in particular. Now I'm like into the podcasting, so when I run, when I work in the yard, whatever, I'm listening to various podcasts.
What's your go-to podcast?
I listen to Tim Ferriss a lot. I've listened to him for a number of years. Lex Friedman's podcast I'll listen to quite a bit. Huberman Lab, now that I'm need to watch things a little closer. I used to be that, hey, I just drink Mountain Dew all day and run. I'm good. Now the metabolism's not quite there like it used to be. So, but so I'll try to vary things up a little bit. Making yours on my list from now on. And
you got a couple episodes to listen to.
Exactly. Exactly. Nice. I think this is you've done 11 now, haven't you?
Yeah. I've interviewed 11, so you're my 12th guest. So thank you.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Well, let's get to the lightning round questions. These are just easy as could be. Well, what's your favorite candy bar?
Oh, Snickers has always been my go-to.
Favorite musical artist?
God, I'm an 80s, like Van Halen was it for me, and sadly they they're no more.
Yeah.
Lost their guitarist.
Eddie's not with us anymore.
Yeah, well, they lost Eddie and everything fell. But then I became a Mumford and Sons, and then they broke up, and I'm like, God, what is there anymore? So I still like that style, that Mumford and Sons or 80s rock. I still listen to and love.
Nice. Favorite cereal?
God, I'm probably a Cap'n Crunch guy, even though I don't get it's a rare day. It's usually when I'm at a hotel. I'm like, oh, they have that.
Makes you feel like a little kid again.
Exactly.
All right, Mac or PC?
100% PC. We have this battle. Everyone else, I think I'm the only one in the office on a PC. Everyone else is Mac.
At 8th grade English,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing they let you be a partner.
I know.
Bringing a PC into an agency.
All of my work is on Excel, PowerPoint, or Word. So why would I go to the Mac?
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
I know all the keystrokes for those programs. Why would I relearn that?
All right. Google, Gmail, and Workspace, or Microsoft Outlook and Office?
So I've got both. I use Outlook primarily, but I have the Gmail account for any, personal kind of things, but everything else is Outlook.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Yeah, you might shoot me, but I'm a neither.
Okay. That's a first. That's a first. It's been dogs, except I think one person said cat. So this is the first person on the podcast you are the first person on the podcast to say neither.
Everyone in my neighborhood knows that I'm the anti, and I don't know if it's because I got chased so much by dogs
running,
and I just, and then I see dog poo on the trail. Yeah. I'm just like, why? Why would you have one of these?
All right. Phantom or Les Mis?
Just saw Les Mis. That was actually my first Broadway play that I've been to. We went a week or so ago. Okay. And it was great. I loved the movie. And I loved the book. I read the book and loved those, and so the play was great as well.
It was awesome.
Yeah,
it was really. We saw it Sunday. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were
really
like a
great cast.
Day or two after us then.
A different stage they have. For this productions. It was
that was the amazing part when he falls into the abyss.
Yeah,
just the way they did that was
the visual effects.
Exactly.
Really cool. Yeah, I love. I'm a Les Mis guy more than Phantom. I like them both, but Les Mis it's the story and so forth. So.
Yeah, it's an amazing story.
So where can people find you, Charcoal, and 8th grade English?
So Charcoal, we're at charcoaldata.com. We need to have more of a presence. We're in the process of redoing our website. We've just been so busy with onboarding new clients and things like that. It's like the cobbler's kids have no shoes situation. So we're redoing our website, but it's charcoaldata.com, and then we're 8THGE for 8th grade English. So 8thge.com.
Nice. And then I'll include links to all things Charcoal and 8th grade English on the show notes on mmmpod.net. Kurt, is there a question that I haven't asked you that I should be asking you?
Golly, you've done a really good job of tying my personal life to my professional life to everything, and so kudos to you to be able to tie that all together, because I think I feel like my running life really influenced my business life for the most part, and so you've done a great job of bridging that together. I mean, just a random question. I can't think of anything that like. I wish you would have asked me that.
Well, maybe you'll think of it later, but thank you so much. It's been so good to reconnect with you. I think it's been, I don't know how long it's been since I've seen you, but it's maybe 15, 20 years,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
more. So thank you for spending an hour with me on a Wednesday night and being so generous with your time. I've loved hearing about your entrepreneurial journey, and I hope this podcast inspires other entrepreneurs, just as talking to you has inspired me. And the entrepreneurs will just keep going, and those of us who are dreamers will just start. So thank you so much, Kurt, for
Fantastic.
being able
Thank you. Had a sweet mullet, gold chain. Life was good.
If only I could grow even a rat tail at this point.
Hey, I'm with you.